Welcome. It is season 2 of Jets Final Drive. Thank you guys so much, actually, for even allowing us to get to season 2 of Jets Final Drive. I was looking at the numbers yesterday. We had over 500,000 views across our digital platforms the first year. We got a shout out in the SNY all hands meeting, and this was with a team that was very, 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 very bad. So huge appreciation to all you guys that tuned in for last year, because of you guys, we've got a second season. And this year is going to be a little different because, against my better judgment, against what my well wishes, I have a permanent co-host now, and he is none other than the Athletic's Zack Rosenblatt, the recently married Zack Rosenblatt. Congratulations, buddy. Welcome to the show, and I'm excited to have you. That's not true. That's a complete and total lie. But I'm going to deal with having you here on the show for the next, every week throughout the season, potentially even off-season?
Well, my hope, thank you for welcoming me. I'm really excited about this. Other than I was going to say, I'm hoping coming on this show and talking to you for however long we talk on these things makes it so I don't have to talk to you as much during the week, because I think I get my fill of Connor Hughes most of the time. But this is exciting. Like Connor and I inherited his previous podcast. I still have it at The Athletic. It's called The Flight Plan now. We've known each other a long time. He was at my wedding. One of my favorite photos from my wedding is him gleefully lifting me up in a chair. I think he was looking forward to that more than me getting married. Him in the corner with his mouth wide open, smiling. And I hope I can do the opposite of that on this pod and just make him frown.
Call it like blissful ignorance. Like I didn't realize that was a tradition in the Jewish religion. Like I didn't realize that's something you guys did at weddings. And I remember when Bree and I, my wife, went to like our first, and like we threw somebody up in a chair. I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And so when you told I got invited to your wedding, I'm excited to go, and
you literally texted me. You're like, "Zach, you're doing the chair thing, right?"
Yeah, the chair thing. Yeah. And we did it twice. The best thing about your wedding was we did it twice. We threw you up when we're supposed to, and then we came back in and did it again. And shout out to me because I didn't drop you. I was worried. And honestly, those of you who are longtime listeners of Zach, or even longer time listeners of me, going back to the Can't Wait podcast at The Athletic, Marissa Morris's husband, Michael Dunn, is also Jewish, and that was the first chair. Michael's like 6'5" and 295 pounds. So the fact he just signed with the San Francisco 49ers, shout out Mike. But the fact that we were able to get Mike up made me confident that I was able to get you up, Zach. So I'm glad you're here. No bruises, no anything. You're healed. Just like the Jets, actually pretty healthy here. This was, though, an eventful offseason, I would say, for the Jets, Zach. We haven't done a Jets Final Drive in quite a while. In fact, it's been literally since the final week of the season. So I figured we could do just a little quick off-season recap if you're down for it, because there's so much. I actually had to write it down here, highlighted, fine print, everything like that. So are you good with that?
Yeah. Are you able to read that many words at once? Like, are we?
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find it out. All right. So off-season begins, I guess, technically a quarter of the way through the season, because the Jets fire Robert Saleh. We were all around for that. Season ends. Jeff Ulbrich, his entire staff fired, with the exception of Sean Jefferson, receivers coach Sean Jefferson, the lone holdover boys with Aaron Glenn. He's back, and I guess that's been okay so far. Garrett Wilson seems to be happy, no?
I just want to circle back to what you said. We were there for Robert Saleh getting fired. I was actually in another country when it happened. I was on vacation, so they fired Robert Saleh when I was on vacation with my now wife. But they turned this thing completely over. They made the roster younger. They changed this coaching staff. They changed the front office quite a bit. It's a new culture. They're rebuilding. I don't know. I know fans don't like that word, but this is a rebuild. So it's a new time. It's really different, new vibes throughout training camp, throughout the year. We're going to get into Aaron Glenn, obviously, but just a much different feeling around this team than, not in a good or bad way, just a different feeling than under Robert Saleh.
Yeah, well, before they got to their new coach in Aaron Glenn, dude, they literally interviewed pretty much everyone under the sun, and I don't even think that's too much hyperbole. Before, though, they ended up hiring the front runner from the very beginning, which was Aaron Glenn. We did think for a second that the general manager was going to be Lance Newmark. Remember that? That was pretty fun. But then we ended up going from Newmark to Darren Muji. So those two guys, Aaron Glenn, new head coach of the Jets, Darren Muji, the new general manager of the Jets, and that's all fine and dandy. Now, since those two have taken over, we have had quite a few changes, I would say, and we can talk about those because Tyron Smith, the team's starting left tackle, he is gone. Morgan Moses, he is gone. Tyler Conklin, he is gone. Javon Kinlan, C.J. Mosley, D.J. Reed, Chuck Clark, Thomas Morstead, Greg Zerline, gone. Alan Lazard, stunningly not gone. Zach, I've got a rolling ring of death here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you, so this is actually way better. I don't have to see your face. But yeah, man. I mean, this is a new team. Like there are spots where they brought back. There's your face. Oh man, it's just as bad.
There
as
we
I
go.
remember.
Finally, I got scared. See, we weren't going to get season 3. There we go. But yeah, so gone. All those guys. Any surprises from you with the cast of crew that did not return on offense there? Surprisingly for me, Alan Lazard. I can't believe he's still here.
Yeah, Lazard being back is definitely the biggest surprise. I think we all kind of like, when you're right at the end of the season, you talk about, who's going to be back, who's not. You project positions and who's going to be here. I think we all just like assumed Alan Lazard would not be here. So that was a twist. He took a pay cut to stay, so maybe he either knew he wasn't going to have interest elsewhere or he just liked the situation here. I don't know. He's had a pretty bad run with the Jets, but in terms of the guys that left, like once you saw what the Jets did with Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, it didn't surprise me, but maybe in the moment I was like, I don't know, maybe they should have brought Morgan Moses back or considered DJ Reed or all this, but they were just like, they were getting the personalities out of the locker room and they were bringing in young players. Like they have, I think, 2 guys that are 30 or older right now, and one of them is a long snapper. So like they went with a youth movement, and I don't blame them for that.
And one of those youth movement meant that Aaron Rodgers, the face of this team's failures pretty much the last 2 years, actually stunning about him, I don't think he wanted to go. At least that was kind of the vibe that he gave in the press conference or the interview that he gave at the Pat McAfee show. Because he literally flew all the way across the country and told Aaron Glenn that he was thinking of playing, which if you're Aaron Rodgers, that's about as close as anybody is going to get. The problem there was that Glenn essentially told him, that sounds nice, but we don't really want you to play for the Jets, so why don't you get the hell out of here? That obviously did not go well with Aaron Rodgers, who then spilled all of the beans on the McAfee show when the Jets were trying to make the divorce as amicable as possible. Good news, though, for the Jets or for Aaron Rodgers or for Aaron Glenn, however you want to look at it, they got a chance in 2 weeks to get some revenge. Because he is going to come here to East Rutherford and take on the New York Jets. That is all of the goers, if you will, everybody who's gone. Real quick, we'll just run right through this, Zach. The guys who are new, Jamian Sherwood is the new Mike backer for C.J. Mosley. Brandon Stevens is replacing D.J. Reed. Andre Sisco is in for Chuck Clark. The Jets just traded for 2 defensive tackles, which we're going to get to in a bit here, Harrison Phillips and Jawan Briggs. Then on offense, we've got 2 new receivers with Garrett Wilson. It's Tyler Johnson and Josh Reynolds. The only problem there is that neither of those guys are very good at football. Mason Taylor, he's the new tight end. Olu Fashanu is the full-time left tackle. On the other side is first-round pick Armand Manbu. And replacing Rodgers is Justin Fields, whom the Steelers replaced with Aaron Rodgers, whom the Jets will see here in a couple of weeks. Zach, did I miss anything?
I mean, you forgot to breathe, I think, is what you missed.
That's fair.
On that one.
That's fair.
I mean, they have like young pieces they've added in the draft that I think are going to play a role right away, like Arian Smith or Malachi Moore and guys like that. But yeah, I mean, you laid it all out there. It's crazy to think as we head into this week 1, like that dichotomy of where we were at when we saw Aaron Rodgers running out of the tunnel with the American flag on Monday night in 2023 and where we're at now in 2025, 2 years, which is not long. And we're going to be watching Aaron Rodgers coming out of the tunnel as the opponent. He's going to get rained with boos. And it's just fascinating. Like it, especially around the Jets, but the NFL moves so quickly. Like a year ago, think about a year ago, the conversations we were having, like they looked really good in camp. Tyron Smith looked like really good in camp. Aaron Rodgers, he's obviously always going to be a great practice player. We had like no reason to believe they would be like a disaster. I thought there was always like a chance it would not go well. It went as badly as it could have gone. And so now we're here with like just everything is new. Like it's kind of mind blowing, honestly, if you just like sit back and think about it for a second. But I started covering the Jets in 2022, which was Robert Saleh's second season. So this is my first like transitional era covering the Jets, and I've never experienced it. This is like an extreme version of it where they just got rid of everybody. I think in the previous instances, like the coaches were not inheriting very much. I do think this staff inherited some talent, so there's some differences, but I don't know. It's just I think about that a lot. Like it's just a year ago, 2 years ago especially, but a year ago even, like Super Bowl contenders. Maybe that was overblown, but this is a team that like had really really high expectations, and now we're going to be couching expectations once we get into this podcast.
Well, I will say that, and we're going to get to a lot here today because there's a ton we've got to touch on. The main differences that we're going to be battling through, but the first one I think that we're going to get to right now, just to start off the bat, is Robert Saleh and Aaron Glenn. And specifically with the two, they couldn't be more different. Now, I've seen this like where players have, people have taken players taking shots at Robert or read between the lines of what players have said as them taking shots at Robert. I don't necessarily know if that's the case. We see this all the time, Zach. Anytime there's a regime change, and the Jets are an example of that, the Giants are an example of that, the Eagles are an example. Anytime, usually volley. Like if you have the players coach, the next one's going to be the disciplinarian. And then you go back to the players coach, and then you go to the disciplinarian. And we've seen that from the Jets when they went from Herm Edwards, he was the players coach. Then Mangini, he was the disciplinarian. Then Rex is the players coach. Then Todd, they wanted to bleed between. Then they went the offensive mastermind. Then they went the culture guy. Aaron is definitely conducting a very, very different mood, style, energy. Absolutely is different. And I think it's because he's ruling right now with an iron fist. I mean, we've seen full tackling for the first time. I can't even remember. I've covered camp since 2014. I don't remember the last time I saw full tackling. I mean, players literally going to the ground, practicing long. The final practice of the day, Zach, we got out there 12:45. We weren't in until 2:45, 2:50. So he's working this. He's grinding these guys down. And it seems like, at least right now, the players have been pretty receptive to the new energy. Again, it's different from Robert. Robert wasn't a bad coach in this. He just took training camp differently. He looked at it as a teaching experience. He looked at it as, let's bring everyone in and have them learn. We don't have to grind them in the ground. That's what the regular season's for. Aaron Glenn's basically like, we're going to build our scars now in August, and there are going to be no scars left to build by the time September rolls around.
The funniest thing about the tackling thing is I've told people this, like if you go to the press conference after that first practice where they're tackling, like the way we were asking questions as media, because we hadn't seen that at Jets camp in so long, it was like, so what was this thing you guys were doing, like where you grabbed each other and threw you to the ground? Like, is that tackling? Is that what that is? It was just like we had never seen a football practice in our lives. But the reality is, like, the NFL does not have those. And I went to Detroit this summer because I'm working on a story on Glenn, and watched their practices, and their practices were like that. So he comes from a place where it's really intense. And, I get it to a point, because I think you've seen a lot of injuries, especially around here when the season comes around, because, they haven't been tackling, or the tackling technique's really poor because you're not getting that physicality in practice, and you're pulling up, you're not hitting the players, you're not tackling the ball carriers, you're not going as hard as you possibly could be. So there's something to be said for it. I wouldn't say it's like the hardest camp ever. Like, they still are taking a lot of like walkthrough days, or they've had more walkthrough days, I think, in this camp than any I've covered, but it's all relative. So, this has been a physical camp. There has been a lot of guys getting banged up, but for the most part, they're pretty healthy where it matters. And you've covered a lot of coaches here. I'm curious, like, I wasn't here for like the Adam Gase, the Todd Bowles. I mean, the Gase one was a little different because I guess it was COVID.
Weird, COVID. Yeah.
But you were here for Bowles too, and I don't know if you were there for before that. Like, what do you remember about those camps compared to this one? Like, how does this...
I was there the last year of Rex, like the very, very tail end of Rex. Like, I remember when they traded for Percy Harvin and all that, but I think anyone who's covered the team long term will tell you the same thing, that Rex that final year was a shell of what he was. Like he had really been just, kind of cut in half from the coach that he was. Todd was at times ramped up and aggressive, then kind of laid back a little bit. His biggest issue was he was a former player and ran camp that way. Like, it was more laid back. Adam had Greg Williams, so things were very intense at times there. In fact, I remember Greg Williams literally sending Jordan Jenkins onto the field with the goal to fight Alex Lewis. Like, literally, Jordan Jenkins was sent on the field to get in a fight with Alex Lewis, which, if any of you Jet fans want to go back to that time, you didn't have to do much to fight Alex Lewis. I mean, that guy literally spent time in jail because he beat the hell out of, like, a cadet, like, or something like that when he was in college. It was wild. And then Robert was what Robert was. Like, I don't think Robert, like, it was a laid-back-ish practice. I mean, Brian Dable's practices with the Giants are far more laid-back than what Robert Saleh's was. He just, again, he was different. He was not a screamer or yeller. And I remember talking to Robert about this a number of times, Zach, and it was always like, I scream and I yell for the good times. We haven't had a lot of good times for me to scream and yell about. Like, that was his stance. Now, Glenn is clearly like the disciplinarian. He's Parcellsian in that regard. We will see how it ultimately plays out for them. We are going to move on here, though. Enough about the coaches. Teased this on social media and forgot that we were actually going to talk about the coaches. So Connor hosting a show is off to a A+ start here for us. Let's talk offense. All right, we're going to spend some time on this. We'll get to Breece Hall. We'll get to Garrett Wilson. We'll get to the offensive line, absolutely. But I do want to start, and I don't want people to start going hysteria and all that stuff, because I think that it's hard to discuss any team's offense and not talk about the quarterback. And if there is a concern right now, and I think you and I probably share this, Justin Fields throughout this summer has left much to be desired. And I got in an argument with NYJ Mike and NYJ Matt about this in our little text chain, because they were like, oh, it's preseason. Oh, it's 5 throws. Oh, how can you say this? How can you say this? I think people forget that we see these guys every single day in training camp. For me, I see him 60% of the time. Zach, you are there every single day. Fields as an athlete, there is no denying what this guy is capable of. He is an elite player in that regard. Fields as a leader is elite in that regard. People do respect him. People do gravitate towards him. He's not somebody that has to stand in a room and be like, I'm a leader. He's not somebody that's a rah-rah guy, but when he talks, people listen. What he does, people follow. That's the type of player he is. The problem is that I think we are seeing, and we have seen, why the Bears gave up on him, why the Steelers gave up on him. There is, when he is asked to play quarterback, when he has to stretch the ball down the field, when he is in passing situations, not 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, 2nd and 4s, there are immense limitations. There was a stretch there where I know he came back from the injury. He was completing like 53% of his passes in practices. Like the 10 to 24, I know it was in the rain. Still, you kind of make a note of that because it's more of what we've seen. And I go back to that game against the Giants, Zach, and those passes that he threw, the incompletions. The curl, well, yeah, Paulson Adebo was all over Garrett Wilson. The throw was late. That's why Paulson was able to get in there. The throw on the slant to Garrett Wilson was behind him. Like there are throws like that where you're like, NFL quarterback's got to hit that. NFL quarterback's got to hit that, where he just isn't. But I don't think, and you can expand on this, Zach, like Darren Muji's watching the same practices that we are. Aaron Glenn, despite what he's saying atop a podium, watching the same practices we are. Tanner Engstrand, watching the same practices we are. I can't imagine the Jets are ignorant to Fields' limitations.
Yeah, so it's such an interesting conversation around Fields, because I think there's been some pushback on like the way we cover him, because, they didn't draft him in the first round. Like, why are we, reporting on every single thing he does? Well, we're going to report on every single thing we see at each practice. But in terms of like the Fields, like this is who he's been in the NFL. He's, like you said, he's an elite athlete. He has really good arm strength. He can make some impressive throws. He's struggled with processing, and he's not someone who's going to like fit it into tight windows. And sometimes you question his decisions, but so it's kind of twofold. What we've seen in these preseason games, he's averaging 3.9 air yards per attempt. And I know it's only 9 attempts. So that's, don't go too crazy about that. But, how are the Jets going to do with Justin Fields when they are trailing in games and they have to throw the ball? Can Justin Fields lead them down the field when they're down 13-3 and the defense knows they have to throw it? Is he able to throw it down the field? The time to practice those moments is in the preseason, and it is in practice. Like we watched these drives, and I know it was really, really rainy on Wednesday when we were at practice, but they were doing these long drives where they were running it almost every play, and I know that's what they want to do. But like in a game situation where you have to go the full length of the field and you're trailing and it's the fourth quarter, like you're not gonna be able to run it every play. You're just not. The odds of that working all season long are pretty slim. But at the same time, like I do think this is gonna be a very effective rushing attack. I think he's gonna have weeks where he looks really good. I think that it's too early to say like this is what he's going to be. Like he could come out in week 1 and maybe they have something they've been hiding from us at these walkthrough practices that we're not allowed to watch. Maybe they're airing it out, and maybe that's going to look a little different when these games start and the Jets finally unlocked it. But I think ultimately they're trying to cultivate a system where Justin Fields does not have to think. He just goes out and goes where he's supposed to go. He goes through his progressions, and when those aren't there, he dumps it off. He runs. And I think we have a clip of this, but he had a quote the other day that we can get into. But let's play the clip because I think it kind of ties all into this.
We're fine with taking 8-yard completions every play, if I'm being honest with you. Of course, you want explosives, but like I said Saturday, we're not going to force the ball downfield.
Yeah, I mean, I would be great with 8-yard completions too every play, but the problem is that's not happening. You know what I mean? It's not the 8-yard completions. We haven't seen that from Fields. And again, I know that some fans are going to listen to this and be like, oh my God, it's negative Connor. Oh my God, it's negative Zach. Oh my God, it's the negative media because, it's just the preseason. But what I stress is, like, we have seen this every day. We have. And running the ball is going to be very clearly an emphasis for this team. And I do believe that if the Jets are playing ahead of the stick, Zach, they're going to be fine. Like, because Justin Fields in a 3rd and 3 situation is as deadly as any quarterback in the NFL. I'm not exaggerating in that, because the way that he runs with the ball, the physicality that he possesses, I mean, it's him and Lamar are the two most talented and gifted runners of the football at the quarterback position. They are that good. I mean, I think because of his physicality, I put him even above Jaden Daniels. Like, he's a freak. It's the errant throws when he just needs to throw. Like, it's accuracy problems. It's the timidness to stretch down the field. You can't just live by dinking and dunking, and that seems to be what the Jets are trying to do. What I will say, though, Zach, is that one of the reasons why they feel confident in being able to dink and dunk is that they feel like they have a strength. They feel like they have a bread and butter. And maybe the last couple years under Saleh, and at times with LaFleur, certainly with the disaster that Nathaniel Hackett was, this team never really had an identity. And they have now built something where that first series he had in the preseason game opener against the Packers, that's what I think they're going to want to do throughout. And I think that they feel confident in their ability to do that because of what they have at their disposal at the running back position, where they can dink and dunk because they feel confident that on first down, Breece Hall is going to get them 3 to 4. On second down, Braylon Allen's going to get him 3 to 4. And suddenly they are in that 3rd and 2 situation. And I'll be honest with you, watching training camp, watching the joint practices against the Giants, watching some of these preseason games, I have my concerns at quarterback. Absolutely. I don't have any concerns at the running back position of the Jets' ability to run the ball. I think that grouping of Braylon Allen and Breece Hall and also Isaiah Davis has the ability to be as good as the Detroit Lions rushing attack. Is the line going to be as good as Detroit? I don't know, but they're going to be able to run the ball, especially against inferior competition. And I think, you might agree with me on this one, Zach. I think that Braylon Allen, I know everyone likes to talk about Breece Hall because there was so much hype early in his career. Don't tell Brian Costello. I think Braylon Allen might be the Jets' best running back. Like, I really think he is that good, and he can catch too. People are like, oh, Breece can catch. So can Braylon. We've seen Braylon make some catches where he is a hell of a find by Joe Douglas last year.
You know, I'll say, like you said, the strength, the running backs. I do think the offensive line is a strength, or at least more of a strength than it's been. I know that's not a tall order, but like run blocking wise, I think they've been really, really good. Pass blocking has been inconsistent. They have been shuffling through the centers, Josh Myers and Joe Tippmann competing. I think it'll ultimately be Joe Tippmann. I do think that group up front is really, really good, and they're going to be really good at opening up those lanes. And Braylon has been more impressive, to your point, at like hitting those holes and exploding through them. I mean, he looks faster and stronger than like everybody on the field when we watch him. And I bought fully into him last year. He got to the season, he wasn't really producing. And then they kind of got away from him too quick, and then they were the 32nd rushing attack in the NFL. I've been saying this all summer, right? They were 32nd, and I really believe there's a chance we might end this year and they're number 1 in rushing. But that kind of, like, to tie back to our original part of this conversation, like, the games this team is going to win this year, they're not going to score 35 points, and it's not going to be a 35-31, barn burner. It's going to be the Jets win 10-7, the Jets win 13-7, the Jets win 13-10. Like, that's how they have to win these games. So when they go out in that first drive, like, I think we'll be able to tell how these games are going to go a lot of times. Because if they can go and score in their first drives or get a field goal, and you can kind of control the clock a bit, that's going to be where they can dominate. And then that sets up the pass, and that sets up your ability to throw it down the field. The receivers are an issue. We'll probably get into that in a minute. But like that, the path of this team being good is they control the time of possession. They run the ball down the other team's throat, and they don't really fall behind, which is kind of a tall order for a team that has a lot of holes.
The real quick here, because then we're going to go to receivers, and we also want to talk about Armand Menbu and some of the struggles that he's had, some of the struggles that he's appeared to have based off of Will McDonald beating him up in camp, Kayvon Thibodeau beating up in camp, saw Jermaine Johnson beat him up in camp the other day. But Breece Hall, we saw Sauce Gardner get his extension. We saw Garrett Wilson get his extension. Jermaine Johnson does what we've seen early since he came off the IR or PUP list. He's going to get an extension. I know where I stand on this. I'm curious if you agree with me. Breece Hall, will he be the Jets running back I'll go 20. What is 20, next year's 2026? 2027 on, because there's always the chance of the franchise tag and all that. But 2027 and on, will Breece Hall get a contract extension from the Jets and be with this team long term? I lean towards no.
Yeah, I lean no, but I'm not as willing to say like absolutely not, because you look at the Lions, they really invested in the running back position. Like they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round. They signed David Montgomery to a pretty decent contract for a guy who's going to be basically your RB2. And so if Breece comes out and has a great year, I absolutely think I could see them signing him to a 3-year deal, and you build this offense around Braylon Allen and Breece Hall as a 1-2 lightning and thunder punch, because I think they complement each other really, really well. Breece has been a little inconsistent. They talk about him as if he's a wide receiver. He's dropped the ball quite a bit. But he has the ability to go out wide. You can plug these two guys into the lineup at the same time. If I'm sitting here right now, I'd probably predict Breece is going to have the second most targets on this team. And there's not a lot of running backs in the NFL right now that you can say will be number 2 on a team in their targets and receptions and things like that. So I think there is a path to him staying on this team long term. Whether he wants it or the team ultimately wants to give him the money he might be seeking, is I know he thinks of himself pretty highly, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. So if he has a really good year, he might be looking for James Cook money this offseason. And are the Jets willing to pay that? I would guess not. But so I think there is a path to him being here long term. He's young, he's explosive, brings something different than Braylon Allen does at the end of the day. So, if this is the team they're going to be, if this is the identity they're going to have, I can definitely see a path to him being here. But yeah, if I'm predicting right now, if I have to put money on it or something, no, I don't think he'll be the running back in 2027.
Biggest issue with Breece is that he reads too much online. I saw those 3 drops. I was at practice that day. I wasn't at the Giants. And my first thought went that guy's thinking about the trades. That guy. And look, I saw Tony Pauline put this out, and then Kaz, had written a column about it'd be so silly to trade the Jets. I think all of us, it's a very weird internet thing that just took off with the Breece getting traded, because it almost started with Rich Cimini hypothesized about it, and then it just that little hypothesis exploded into the Jets are trading Breece Hall. What I can tell you is during the draft, I think they would have dealt him if they got a crazy offer. If somebody offered him a 2nd-round pick, yeah, they're probably going to trade Breece Hall, but no one was going to trade for Breece Hall for that. The Jets have no indications right now of wanting to trade Breece Hall at this point in time. If they're out of the playoff picture and we get to the deadline and it's very clear that they're not going to re-sign Breece and they're out of the playoff picture and they want to roll with Braylon and Isaiah, then yeah, I could see Breece Hall getting traded. But right now, that's not on their mindset, because I genuinely do believe that Aaron Glenn thinks this Jets team is capable of making a run and getting in. Justin Fields, big concern, right? Running game, not a concern. Bigger concern, and the Jets are, at least according to the queen of Jets Twitter, I would say, and Jetsland, everyone's favorite NFL insider from the Jets world, Diana Rossini. The Jets are exploring opportunities to trade for a receiver. I will say this, Zach, you can expand on it. I look at this 3 ways. 1, goodbye the Jets, because just like we saw them trade for the interior defensive lineman, it shows that they are not so ignorant to the team that they've built where they realize there are weaknesses that need to be addressed. That's why they traded for 2 interior defensive linemen. That's why they're exploring trades for receivers. It goes back to what we originally said when this whole shebang bang began, and we were like, hey, I don't think Josh Reynolds and Tyler Johnson are good number 2 receivers. They're probably going to need someone opposite Garrett Wilson. That's obviously a thing. Arian Smith, great story, right? Working hard, talent, going to have a role on Sundays. He's not in a position here where he can be your number 2 receiver as a rookie. He's just not. Maybe next year and beyond, but he's not that player right now. Biggest one I go back to before we get to the offensive line quickly here, Zach. Yeah, the Jets need a number 2 receiver. Yes, the Jets need to acquire another receiver. I don't know who that receiver is. Receivers are valuable. You know what I mean? So unless you're talking about a Mechie, who the potential reclamation project that the Philadelphia Eagles traded for, there's not guys out there that are oh, the Giants are dying to trade Darius Slayton. He'd be a good number 2 receiver for this team. Teams realize the Eagles just won a Super Bowl, and I know Aaron Glenn wanted to point out the rushing attack. They have Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. Teams realize that you have to run 2 deep. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. You need to run 2, even sometimes 3 deep at receiver. So they're not usually open to dealing legitimate options unless they're getting a serious haul back, and I don't see the Jets doing that. So, yeah, they're intrigued. They're looking for receivers. I just don't know if they're bona fide number 2 guy is going to be there. I think ultimately they're probably going to have to deal with what they've got. I don't feel differently.
Yeah, I mean, you're wading into the waters of guys that there's probably a reason why that team doesn't want them anymore, unless you're giving up. Like, look, the Saints just traded a 4th-round pick for Devon Veal. I'm guessing you didn't know who that was before today. So
100% I did. You know what? I knew a lot more about these players before I started covering the NFL. And so like when I was a kid, I played Madden religiously, dude. Like all I did. And I knew every damn player on every single roster because I would do fantasy drafts, trade for guys, all that stuff. I was better at fantasy football. When I started covering the NFL, like I can tell you everything you want to know about the Giants' 3rd-string running back, Turbo Miller. I don't know who the Saints' backup running back is. No, I did not know who this dude was. I did not. If he ends up on the Jets, I'll tell you everything you want to know, but like not right now, I don't.
Yeah, and you'll make it sound like you know who he is, but you
100%, absolutely. That's the BSing of this job.
That's the beauty of this job, yeah. But yeah, I mean, you look at last year at the deadline, the Cowboys, I think, traded like a 2nd or a 3rd for Jonathan Mingo. Like, this is what these, like, guys, the potential kind of team, you have to overpay to get them. And so, you're wading into the waters of guys like, the 2 popular names among Jets fans right now are Romeo Doubs from the Packers and Alec Pierce from the Colts. And Alec Pierce is a young receiver who's explosive down the field. I don't see why they would just give him up unless the Jets are willing to trade like a 2nd or 3rd round pick. And someone like Dobbs, like the Packers are pretty banged up at receiver. So, like, I don't see the Jets. The Jets are a team that's trying to not trade a lot of the future assets. They're trying not to dip in the future salary cap wise, which is why Taylor McLaurin is somebody who obviously would be an upgrade, but you're not going to trade for a 30-year-old and then pay him as one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL after you just paid Garrett Wilson. So, to your point, like there's not a lot of great options out there, and a lot of the guys they would probably bring in are probably in the mold of a Josh Reynolds, a Tyler Johnson.
Yeah.
And so, there's guys that are worth taking flyers on. There's probably guys that will claim on waivers or whatever. Like that's the market for that. And you could stumble on somebody who winds up being a lot better than you expect, or you trade a 7th-round pick, or you swap players that you're going to cut anyway. But that's when you're looking for a receiver on August 21st, unless you're aiming high, like that, this is kind of where you're working. And so I think I do understand pretty much everything the Jets did this offseason. The one thing I didn't really get is banking on someone like Josh Reynolds, who is perfectly fine if he's your wide receiver 3 or 4. Like banking on a guy like him or Lazard being your wide receiver 2. And I know, I think back to owners' meetings. We talked to Aaron Glenn for the first time, and we asked him, like, what do you like about Josh Reynolds? And the first thing that comes out of his mouth is his run blocking. So, I mean, that told us what kind of offense they were going to be running. But it also told me that, like, nobody's going to be scared of the rest of these receivers. And that's an issue, and it's a concern because Garrett Wilson's going to be double teamed. They're going to shade all the coverage in his direction. And so who's going to emerge outside of him? Like Arian Smith is intriguing because he's like the one real deep threat they have with deep speed. And so in theory, that can open the field up. You have Mason Taylor in the flat. You have Breece Hall in the flat. But you need another receiver to step up, and there hasn't really been one where you can point to him and be like, okay, he's going to be a guy that other defenses are going to prepare for. And that's going to be it could become a big issue for this offense unless Josh Reynolds surprises us.
Real quick, Zach, I think that most people believe that the strength of this Jets team is going to be their offensive line. And I talked to somebody at the Jets a while ago that was basically like, if the line's not good now, what the hell are we supposed to do? Like, when you look at the resources that they have pumped into this group, whether it's the 1st-round pick in Elijah Vera Tucker, trading up for him too, the 1st-round pick in Olu Fashanu, the priority free agent signing in John Simpson, a 2nd-round pick in Joe Tippmann, a center. That's a legitimate asset to invest in the center. And then now going on the right side with Armand Membu. I do think it's going to take a little bit for these guys to gel together when they all play together. Everyone, with the exception of Tippmann, who's been competing for that starting center spot with Myers in the lineup, out of the lineup, in the lineup, out of the lineup, we talked about this on the sideline. I'm concerned with the number of poor snaps that Tippmann continues to have. Like it does.
I would say we got into a heated argument about this on the sideline. Actually,
yeah, as heated as we're gonna get. Like it's like I was like, you're like, well, he's better than Myers. I'm like, he's a center who can't snap. What are we talking about? Dude?
What I said, okay, he had one bad snap in that game. He didn't have as many last year as you claim.
Then he botched the snap to
number 3. So what's more important in your mind, a center who's really good at blocking the guy in front of him, or a center who is really good at snapping? Because
snapping, that's the job. So you have to snap the ball.
Josh Myers has not been able to block the guy in front of him. He's been awful.
Well, at least he gets the ball there, and then Fields can just run left, run away from him. But aside from that, in the middle,
see, we're not going to agree on everything. I just wanted to make sure that's clear. Like, I don't agree with Connor most of the time, I would say.
Yeah. Armand Membu, there have been there has been a rookie acclimation process, and it's always difficult to characterize this because is it Will McDonald being super, super dominant, or is it the offensive tackle struggling? When Jermaine Johnson comes right off again and Jermaine Johnson starts having success against him, well, Jermaine Johnson's a Pro Bowl player. So, like, it's hard to say. Kayvon beating him up in practices and then Kayvon beating him up in a game, I'm uniquely qualified to answer this. Kayvon is not an elite-level pass rusher. Kayvon's a good defensive end. Kayvon is a quality player. Kayvon will get sacks when sacks kind of are in his area. He's not going to win a ton of one-on-ones normally. Like, he's probably going to be a 7 to 8 sack guy throughout his career. That's the way that I see him. That's the way I project him. I think he's a good player. He's not a great player. When he was having his way with Membo, it made me a little alarmed. But I will say, from having seen the infamous, can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, but why not to start off season 3 here, the iron sharpens iron training camp of Carl Lawson versus Mekhi Becton.
Oh, boy.
That was the worst summer I've ever seen from one player.
You just said that out loud?
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go cry.
What happened
the worst summer I've ever seen from an offensive player in Becton. The best training camp I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen Carter, Malik Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys. What Carl Lawson did that summer before he blew out his Achilles was unbelievable. Guy looked like Lawrence Taylor, in large part because Mekhi Becton stunk. But, like, it's not that bad with Membo. I tend to hedge towards he's going to be fine, but the first month, 2 months of the season, the Jets might have to, like, shade somebody that way. You know what I mean?
So I agree with your broad point. I'd say, like, I covered Andrew Thomas his rookie year. He was really bad. Fans had given up on him, and then became an all-pro for the Giants. So, like, offensive linemen take time to adjust. I don't think he's been Mekhi Becton level in camp. I actually think he's had some really good moments. The Kayvon Thibodeau stuff, like, I thought the first practice they were battling pretty well. The second practice, the offensive line in general did not look very good. And, you know, what I've been told about Membo from the beginning, including from people in the building, is that, like, we think that, like, day one, he's going to be a really, really good run blocker for us. They're going to run the ball a lot. That's great. He's a great athlete. He's really strong. He's a mauler. And they're going to go through their lumps in the passing game. And I think that's okay, because if you have I had a scout tell me this a while back. If you have 3 or 4 out of 5 offensive linemen that are just good, then you can live with, like, figuring it out with the other spot or two. Like, that's kind of how it operates, because you can hide them. You could bring an extra blocker, like, whatever it is. I don't think Membo's going to be such a disaster. They need to do that all the time. He's going to go through his lumps. There are going to be some matchups, like you said, Will McDonald, very unique player, long arms, really quick, has this unique spin move. Not a lot of defensive ends like him. Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, those guys, pretty unique. Like, they shuffle those guys all around the line of scrimmage. I think it was a great test for him. And so I'm really high in his potential, but yeah, he's going to go through his bumps. I think Olu Foster went through his bumps last year. I don't think his rookie year was maybe as good as it's portrayed, but I think he's had a really good training camp, and I think he's going to be a solid, maybe not a star, but I think he's going to be a solid left tackle. So, you know, I feel good about him. I feel really good about John Simpson. I feel really good about AVT as long as he can stay healthy. Center, assuming it's Joe Tippmann, fine. He's fine. Like, he's not a bad center by any means. I think he's a pretty solid one. We can argue about the snapping, I guess, but I think this is just a solid group of 5, and the ceiling on Membo is pretty high in my mind. Whether he reaches that as a rookie, maybe not, but I think they're okay with him going through his lumps. He's 20 or 21 years old as well, by the way. Like, he's really young, so, you know, if he struggles against TJ Watt in week 1, I don't think you can get mad at that.
Yeah, I joke with Will Parkinson about this all the time because, like, he came to train. He's been at some camp practices. Like, shout out Will. Like, he's been coming out, got a credential. Like, good for the Jets for credentialing. Will's a great guy. The way that he pumped Olu after, like, a couple of days, man, I was like, Will, let's calm it down a little bit. Like, like, Will made Olu sound like he's goddamn Jonathan Ogden, and I'm like, dude, he's a good player. There is no doubt this guy is going to be a starting offensive tackle in the NFL for 10 years. But let's, like, hold off on the all-pro honors for a second. I think maybe he was winning every single rep because he was going every single rep against Michael Clemens. Like, that's probably why. Like, let's see him do it against, like, elite-level pass rushers. Like, well, I don't know if TJ Watt's going to see him at all because they're probably just going to put him on the rookie. But we'll do that. I will say this, and I saw this come across before we would transition over to the defense, Zach, for a little bit. A report came out. This was the Jets didn't trade for anyone else. This is a survey of 2,000 NFL people or NFL fans and what their post-game romance was like.
Oh, God.
Giant fans ranked number 1 as their romantic boost after a win was 78%, which probably explains why the population of the United States is dropping, like if I'm guessing, because Giants have not been winning very much. Jets, though, the romantic dip after a loss, 22%. The romantic boost after a win, only 33%. Like, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that are worse than that. So, like, I get wins don't put Jet fans in the mood. I was kind of surprised about that. Although, based off of my mentions and how you guys hate me, I assume you're just not, having good feelings elsewhere. The wild one here is, where was this? This was there's a 17% here after a win. Yeah. Oh, Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguar fans have a 17% thing after a win, but that's probably, I think they're just always in the mood. That would be my guess there. But how about that? That's an interesting little study. This just came across my desk, so it's interesting.
Breaking
interesting
news.
One here. Yeah. Breaking news. I will say, for all you guys that are watching, if you are watching on X/Periscope, thank you guys so much for joining us there. If you are watching on YouTube, though, there's a comment section. Much like if you watched Can't Wait, much like if you watched Jet Plan, there is a comment section on YouTube. So I advise you guys, if you're watching on X, also bring it up on YouTube and drop some comments there in the comment section. If you have questions you'd like Zach and I to answer, anything like that, drop those comments there. Our incredible producers, Sam, Brian, everyone back there, they're going to get in my ear and let me know, or send me text message about the questions you guys have. So if you guys want to interact with the show, we're going to bring a lot here on Season 3 of Jets Final Drive. But if you guys want to interact right now, have questions about Justin Fields, Aaron Glenn, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, anything we're not touching upon right off the bat here, drop them in the YouTube comment section on SNY. Also subscribe to SNY while you guys are there, so you can get all of the Jets Final Drive stuff. And we will make sure to get your guys' questions answered. All right, Zach, that's enough on the offense, I think. Yeah. If you're good with that, I think I'm fine with that if you're good with that.
Let's do a little defense.
Yeah, sweet. Let's talk some D after the lovemaking report. Steve Wilks. That's a hell of a transition. I want credit for that one. That one, clip that one. So let's talk some defense. Steve Wilks, you've had a chance to talk to him. I have not had a chance to talk to him yet. I did talk to a couple people that I know across the league who are very familiar with him and have talked with him. The Jets are going to be running, from what I understand, the Detroit Lions defense. So it's Aaron Glenn's defense that Steve Wilks is calling. Not a big deal there. No reason to panic, no reason to fluster, no one to freak out. Wilks has been around forever. He can pretty much call any defense, but it's going to be very Aaron Glenn oriented, which from what we've seen so far, Zach, that means some pressure, which I think is going to be fun. I grew up when I was a kid. Steve Spagnuolo, Giants defensive coordinator, loved watching him, loved what he's doing now with the Chiefs. The pressure, the blitzing, I just think that's fun. Like, I loved it. I loved when I covered Wink Martindale and watched him design these crazy exotic blitz packages and stuff like that. I think that's going to be really fun to watch, and it seems like that's what they're going to design. I mean, hell, Tony Adams had a strip sack at practice Wednesday.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch this defense in practice because I think every practice I saw at least one defensive back or linebacker in the backfield. I think Quincy Williams is somebody who I'm really excited to see in this defense because he just explodes off the ball. He's really, really athletic. And Sauce Gardner, has been very open to how he thanks the coaches every day for what the position they're putting him in, because he's getting to play man coverage. He's getting to follow the top receiver. And I just think this defense, the way it's structured, kind of helps to hide some of the warts that this group might have when, I think up front they have some talent, but not a lot of depth. So if anybody gets hurt, they need blitzing to help the pass rush. And something that Jeff Ulbrich and Saleh didn't do much is blitz. The idea was the front four had to win at all costs, and that kind of built the defense around that. This is going to be a little different. They're going to get creative. They're going to throw different looks at the offense. And, on the weeks where they have a talent deficit and a couple of guys are out or whatever it is, that's how you overcome it. So I'm really excited to see this. I'm really excited to see who emerges because of this defense. Will McDonald's had a great camp. He's another guy. And Jermaine Johnson just came back. He's been looking really, really good. And so, I think this defense has a really, really good top-end talent. I have some concerns about the depth, but Steve Wilks, Aaron Glenn, I think this defensive backfield coaching staff with Chris Harris and Dre Bly and Aaron Glenn, it's maybe the best defensive back coaching room in the NFL. So I feel pretty good about this defense broadly. It's just going to look a lot different. It's a completely different defensive style.
Yeah, and we've seen Will McDonald dominate training camp throughout this summer. I think he's as good as advertised, and it would not surprise me in any way, shape, or form if he has another double-digit sack season. Jermaine Johnson worked sparingly, had a really heavy-duty day on Wednesday, the Jets' final training camp practice, and he was awesome. At one point, he got in the backfield past Membu so quick to sack Justin Fields that he just started dancing as the play was still going on. Like, he was literally dancing like this behind Justin Fields as the play was still happening because he knew he was in there for the sack. Will say the biggest concern, and we're going to move quickly on from the defense. I don't think there's too much to talk about. Sauce Gardner, good. Brandon Stevens has looked good. The safeties are a concern, but if you have good corners, who cares about that? The way the Giants ran the ball in the joint practices was an issue. The way the Jets have run the ball on their own defense, although they have a good line, good backs, was an issue. I think it was really encouraging to see that the Jets aren't so blinders on with their own belief of their original offseason roster is fine, that they went out there and they traded some and swapped some really low-round things to bring in Phillips and Briggs. Phillips is going to be the starter next to Quinn Williams in the 4-3 defense. Briggs is going to be a rotational piece, and I don't think the Jets now are going to have like this elite level run defense, but I think it's a much better run defense today than it was yesterday.
Absolutely. I mean, Phillips in particular was one that caught my eye. Like I didn't realize he was someone that was even available. If you see the reaction from Vikings Twitter, and they can be a pretty volatile group too. Like they were like really mad that they traded away Harrison Phillips. They loaded up at defensive tackle, is my understanding. They signed Javon Hargrave and I believe somebody else. And yeah, he's someone who is really beloved over there as a leader in the locker room, and he's a run stopper. And they haven't had a really good run stopper next to Quinn and Williams in a minute. Maybe since I want to say like Sheldon Rankins, maybe it would have been the last one. And I don't think he was like an amazing run stopper. So
he wasn't a great run stopper.
This is, and what this does is, before you have Byron Cowart and you have Jay Tufele, who were looking like the starters next to Quinn and Williams, like rotating in. Those guys look a whole lot better if they're your number 3, number 4, number 5 defensive tackles. So I feel pretty good about that defensive tackle group. I have concerns about the defensive end depth. If you look beyond Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson, it's guys like Michael Clemens, Rashad Weaver, and Tyler Barron and Brady McGregor. Like, it's not a really exciting group, and if they have an injury to either of those, I have concerns. But yeah, Darren Muji saw, a position group that, wasn't performing in the way they needed them to, and so he went and got an upgrade. And Juwan Briggs, by all accounts, from everything I've heard, he came on really, really strong at the end of last season. I think some people thought the Browns should have played him earlier than they did. He's young. There's like a ceiling there where he can keep growing. And so, Briggs and Phillips are going to be guys that are going to play for this team. So to get those guys on August 21st or 20th, is a really good deal.
All right, Zach, I've got the YouTube stream up right now. Once again, season 2 of Jets Final Drive is underway. I said 3. I'm sorry about that. It's rookie Connor, off-season mode, still all that fun stuff. If you guys are watching on Periscope, thank you so much. We love the viewers there. But if you also want to open up YouTube, you can interact in our little comment section right here. See that? You see that? That little comment section? You guys can comment on it, and we're going to take a couple quick questions right here. Zach, this is rapid fire. So we're trying to get this for someone who's very long-winded, like few seconds here on this one. I'll go, you go real quick on these questions. Going to try to get like 3 or 4 of these in, and then we're going to move on here. This is from Chris, CB Jets fan. Thoughts about the Jets potentially bringing in another edge rusher like Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, Preston Smith, any of those other guys? I personally say no. I think they're fine at defensive end. I think they're good. I like the idea of Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald. Michael Clemens gets hate, but he's fine. And keep developing Eric Watts.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably more like a position they find a guy in waivers that they claim, somebody that another team drops, and then you throw him into your rotation. I don't think they get somebody at that level, would be my guess.
This one is from Nick Harris. Overall outlook on Brandon Stevens. Are you excited for him? I don't think he's as good as DJ Reed, but he's better than what I expected him to be when I saw some of his PFF numbers with the Ravens. I think he'll be an okay outside corner that is probably eventually replaced next year.
I actually think he's been way better than I expected. He's somebody that came here with questions about, the ability to turn his head around, and that's why he gave up a lot of yards. He's been doing that in camp. He's made some picks. He's had some PBUs. Like, if the Jets can get him to turn his head around, I think he has the ability to be a really, really good cornerback. So I actually am a lot higher than him than I expected when they signed him.
Jeffrey Snuffin, final one. John Simpson, any concern with the injury? I saw him leave practice yesterday. Did he come back in? I missed that because I had to go back up and film a TV hit.
I don't think they did another team drill after he went out. I honestly can't remember. We're going to talk to Aaron Glenn on Friday, and we'll get more details. I didn't get the impression anything was bad because when he went off the field, he only was with the trainer briefly, and then he was just with the rest of the offensive linemen. So I don't think it's anything to be concerned about.
And my guy Marty asking me about the lawn, which he has been a godsend to me as I blow up his phone all the time asking for help, as I am now a homeowner who is obsessed with his lawn, really transitioning to my dad era. Lawn looks great, dude. Thank you. You are a freaking king. Yeah, wait till you and Samantha get a house, buddy. You're going to love all this grass talk. All right, let's keep moving on. We are about towards the end of the show, the first episode of season 2. So season 2, see Jeff Goldman, our executive producer. I'm on you. I got it now, man. I'm being quick with my words, and we're doing all this. We're going to do this one real quick, Zach. This is cash or crash. And we're going to go one player whose stock is up, one player whose stock is down. I will start with my stock up and then go my stock down, and then you can take over. Stock up for me, Braylon Allen, big one, and Jermaine Johnson, big one, are the two that I picked because I just think they're just having really, really good summers. I mean, I could take Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. I don't think that really matters with those guys. I think Braylon Allen looks like a stud. I think Jermaine Johnson looks like he is better than ever before, despite the fact he missed all of last season with an Achilles injury. And then my stock down, Xavier Gibson has not made a difference whatsoever with an open spot at receiver, has made very little difference on special teams. Great guy. I like him a lot, but it's just I haven't seen anything this summer to make me think that he's going to have a spot on the 53 right now. I just don't.
I broke the cardinal rule of infringing on the thing I was going to talk about already. So Brandon Stevens is someone I just kind of explained why I think his stock is up. But just to touch on it again real briefly, like they signed him to this pretty big contract. I think everybody was kind of up in arms a little bit. And in the beginning of camp, it seemed like he was still having the same issue of not turning his head around. But as camp has gone on, he's corrected that to a degree. And if he can carry that into the season, like he could kind of fix the issue the Jets had at corner the last couple of years, which is they were not forcing turnovers. So I'm really high on him. And then stock down, Malachi Corley. He's a guy the last coaching staff was in the last front office was over the top with their praise when they drafted him. They made sure to let everybody know we would have taken him in the second round. We had him ranked higher than Brian Thomas, and he wound up being kind of a disaster as a rookie. He had that fumble, which was kind of the signature play and probably will be the signature play of his Jets career. And he's just been running with the twos and the threes all summer. I think he has one catch in the preseason. He barely played in the last preseason game. And, you know, you can always tell how a coaching staff feels about a guy when you ask a question about them and they can't really come up with a lot of positive things to say. So at this point, I'd be surprised if he was on this team, and that's not great for a guy who was drafted in the third round a year ago, but this group didn't draft him, so you can't blame them.
No, you cannot. The Corley thing to me is like a wild miss, like not even close. And there was stuff last year where I guess we can talk about it now, where like he didn't want to give the number 17 to Devontae Adams. Adams was like, hey, I'll give you $20,000 for the number, and Corley's like, I want $120,000. Like crazy stuff like that, where it was like he didn't want to play special teams because he thought he should be a starting receiver, and they're like, dude, you're a rookie. Like what? It's just an entitlement and an immaturity, and it really dragged him down. All right, Zach. Season preview episode. Final segment we're going to do, and then we're going to call this one quits. It is over-unders. And we actually do these in the media room. It's fun because like we'll do a bunch of weird little props. We'll make our own over-unders. Like the 1 year Aaron Rodgers' first year, remember it was like 67% or something like that of snaps he had to play for the Jets. So we did like, will Aaron Rodgers play? All of us went over with the exception of Janae Coakley, who went under and she won the over-under. Like there's no money on the line. It's just reporters killing time in the offseason. So we've got a few over-unders here. Just some fun ones. Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, and overall team wins. Let's rattle through them. We'll start here with Justin Fields. You go first as the co-host. I'll go second. Justin Fields passing touchdowns over under 14.5.
Oh, I'll say over 14.5. Not much over though. Like probably somewhere in the like 16 to 18 touchdown pass range would be my guess.
That's not bad. I'm going to go under. And the third one of these, I'll explain why. Rushing touchdowns, 4.5. Over under.
I'm gonna go over. I think he could get like 10 touchdowns. So and I know that's a lot if you combine all of that together, but I think he's gonna run for a decent amount of touchdowns this year.
I also go over on the rushing touchdowns. Now here's the big reason why. Games started, 14.5 over under.
Oh man, that's a tough one. Tyrod Taylor being hurt right now doesn't help, but I'll say over. I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to say over.
I'm going to go under because I think that they've hitched their wagon to Justin Fields. They want Justin Fields. They want to be they want him to be their quarterback. I just don't see it. And Tyrod Taylor is a guy who's better than a lot of people think. And I think ultimately, around Halloween-ish, I think we'll see the Jets turn to Tyrod Taylor over Justin Fields. But the reason why I took over rushing touchdowns is I still think Fields will have a role on this team. He'll still be used running the ball. He'll still be used near the goal line. Like, I'd see the Jets going, not a two-quarterback offense, but I could see them still using Justin Fields, even though Tyrod Taylor ultimately becomes their starter. All right, Garrett Wilson receiving yards. He's done this a ton throughout his career. Over under 1,000, so 1,000.5.
Yeah, I'll go over. I mean, they don't really have anybody else to throw the ball to. So just, if you look at the Bears, they had DJ Moore and that was it. And Justin Fields threw him the ball a lot and he got a lot of yards. So whatever you think about Fields, he can get the ball to his best receiver at bare minimum. And so if Garrett Wilson's going to have 100 catches. He's going to have 1,000 yards. So
100% agree. I am over that one as well. Receiving touchdowns. This is an interesting one. 4.5 because Wilson hasn't gotten to the end zone a ton throughout his career.
Yeah, that one I'll go under because I don't know. I did say over on the other one, so I'll say over just by virtue of staying consistent. But that's another one I don't feel great about because I think when they get to the red zone, they're going to run it a lot. So,
all right, there we go. All right, Breece Hall over-unders. Rushing yards, 875.5 over-under.
I'll go under on the rushing yards because I think he'll be more like a 700 rushing yards, 700 receiving yards type of season.
All right, I will go I'm going to go over, but not with the Jets. I think that he will have more yards with his second team after the trade deadline. Total touchdowns receiving included for Breece Hall, 7.5. I'm going to go under. I don't think he'll have 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm going to go under on that as well. I think Braylon's going to have more touchdowns than him this year. All
right. Sauce Gardner, interceptions, 1.5 over under. I am going to go over. I think Sauce gets some picks this year. I do. He's playing. He's in love now. He's got his new contract. I think Sauce is going to be playing free and happy and have a big year. I think he's going to go back to being a Pro Bowler. All pros tough to get. I think he'll be a Pro Bowler and finish with 5 interceptions. Same 5 picks. Love does that to a man, dude. When you're in love, you play better.
I hate agreeing with you, but I kind of feel the same way. I think he's going to have a career high. I think it's going to be, I think he's going to wind up with like 5 picks because he's going to have more opportunities, I think, in this defense.
There we go. All right, final one. Team wins, 7.5 for the Jets, over under. I'm going to go under. I think it could be a longer year. I'm worried about the quarterback.
I'm going to go under just because it's 7.5, but I think they're going to go 7-10 is my prediction. So
that's fair. I have like 6 wins, 5 or 6 wins is what I have for them. That quarterback. I'm worried about their ability to do that. You feel the same?
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing is they have this team has a low floor and their ceiling is probably like 9 wins. So the odds are they're going to hit the floor more than the ceiling, but I think they can grind out 7 wins.
Big. It's a tough first part of the schedule too.
It is.
Beginning schedule is hard. Zach, this was a blast. I very much enjoyed this. I thought this was fun. For the very first episode of this season 2 of Jets Final Drive, I thought this was awesome, enjoyable, and I hope you felt exactly the same.
I did. I'm looking forward to doing this. These conversations, it really helps you even just unpack how you feel about certain topics and getting to talk it out with you is fun. I just want to shout out, I do have a story about Chris Banjo coming out tomorrow. I wrote this long feature about Chris Banjo. He has an interesting journey and talked to Sean Payton for the story. So I hope you guys will read that in The Athletic. But I'm excited to get going with this pod. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely, man. This was a blast. So before we go, if you guys want to catch this episode again, you can do it across all of SMY's digital platforms. So that is Facebook. You can find us there. You can find us on X, where you can find it. You can find it on sny.tv. You can find it on YouTube. If you're going to watch it on YouTube, that comment section lives forever, guys. Drop your comments. I'll try to pop in there and answer as many as I can over the course of the next week or so. But if you're going to watch us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to SMY. That way you can get all of your Jets Final Drive stuff. You can all get the putback with Ian Begley, everything. Baseball Night New York, all the stuff that SMY has for their digital content, including Mets highlights, Yankees highlights, all that fun stuff. It's all on SMY's YouTube channel, so make sure you guys subscribe there. Also, if you want more of me and our old co-host of this show, Janae Coakley, She isn't going anywhere. We actually have a second digital show that we are going to debut this year. It's going to be the Jets Mailbag. So we will compile questions throughout the week, and I'll answer them with Janae Coakley on Jets Mailbag, and that we found also across SNY's digital platforms. So again, that Facebook, that X, that YouTube, that SNY TV, bookmark, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Guys, this was an absolute blast. Like I said, thank you so much for watching Season 1. It's why we've got a Season 2. We're going for 1 million views throughout this season, so we're going to need all you guys to like, share to your friends, and all that fun stuff. That's going to do it for this episode. We will be back with you guys shortly with the Jets season, another Jets season set to kick off.